Every content creator wants to appeal to their audience to a certain extent, to seem interesting and relatable to a demographic that wants to hear from them. But the line between appealing and pandering can get somewhat blurry the larger you get. The idea of cancel culture or being cancelled is something that has been discussed and argued for the past few years, and the general idea has been assigned to many different scenarios. Whether they're being exposed for being a scummy individual, people on YouTube or Twitter are encouraging people to deplatform the individual, or perhaps they're being criticized for something most people see as kind of fucking retarded. I'm looking at you, Dream Stans. But for whatever reason it may be, a large group of individuals just see it as to cancel someone. And these group of individuals who cancel people are called virgins. Oh, no, wait, no, it stands. It stands. But before I talk about stands, I would like to say a big thank you to today's sponsor, the Remington Model 870. The Remington Model 870 is an up and coming tool to get rid of anything in your path, such as children, next door neighbors, and pedophiles. Use code FROG has a bull haircut to get 0.00001% off your purchase today. But in all seriousness, today we aren't just going to be criticizing stands. There's already many videos you can check out about that, wink wink. But more specifically, we are going to be talking about being a stan and discuss exactly how it's destroying your mental health.
Put a sock in it. No one cares.
The mental health movement, while not being a traditional movement in the sense where there wasn't a figurehead or organization at the center of it, there was instead a public emergence of acceptance which was gradually achieved through the validation and accepting the great troubles of suffering that comes with issues such as mental health. And where it was once looked down upon for anything but typical, studies have shown more and more overwhelming evidence that we as a society have only began to scratch the surface of what it means to take care of one's own mental health. So why the fuck am I telling you this? Well, to put it simply, stans have an unhealthy mindset. They idolize these creators to the point where it becomes an obsession to cope with their own flaws or loneliness, which is a form of escapism. And I say all this for a simple reason. Every time I go on Twitter and see all these stans of Dream, Corpse Husband, BTS, or basically any fucking Minecraft influencer nowadays, I don't simply see a stan. Yes, I'm talking to you. Hello there, Mr. Stan from Eminem's song. Or I don't know. I'm here to say that I was there too, specifically using my parasocial relationship with the content creator Leafy is here as an example. I'm pretty sure if the term stan was used back then, people probably would have labeled me as one.
Dumb it down for everybody. And this is exactly what I'm talking about.
Get a life, you fat fuck!
And I say all of this for a simple reason. There's many people who find themselves in a position like I did back in 2016, and I understand the positives of a parasocial relationship. I mean, for fuck's sakes, thanks to me being a Leafy fan, it helped me craft my channel's style and humor now. And trust me, I understand coping and choosing to forget the life you might have. Whether it's a bad relationship with a family member, aka fatherless behavior, or not having an idol in your life that you can relate to, and instead choosing to live a life vicariously through the content creators of which that you adore or worship. And I see this, and I just want to say that they don't love you. And I don't mean that to seem like a spiteful to be an asshole. It's just genuinely not possible. I guarantee it. The content creators that peddle these parasocial relationships, good examples being basically any fucking Minecraft influencer nowadays, are simply being nothing short of malicious. And whilst it may be true that some of them aren't aware of the harm that these do bring to their audience that have this form of escapism, I feel if they are aware of what they are doing, they are harming the individual, aka the stan, far more than they are helping them. I'm truly thankful for the time I was in. The term stan never really existed. Sure, we did have our quote-unquote stans back in the day, with one example being Septiplier, aka Jacksepticeye and Markiplier shippers.
It's hideous!
But the reason why stans, as a concept anyway, never really existed back then was that content creators didn't facilitate these parasocial relationships until of recent. The problem is, with these stan communities now existing, you see the stans that are being led into them are in fact facing very serious fucking circumstances. To the point where these stans are joint NSFW of fucking minors.
I speak for me and Tubbo and everything, all this, I've not been on Twitter very much over the past week, and it has been great. But boys, any of this not safe for work, like sex-related fanfic, whatever that is on the Wattpad or on Twitter, I am not comfortable with that, and I do not endorse it. I just thought I'd have to say. I thought it would have been obvious, because because I'm a child, but I thought I'd just let you all know.
Now, I don't want to say that these content creators are responsible for everything and anything their fanbase does, because that's simply disingenuous. However, the way stans refer to the influencers they look up to is extremely dehumanizing. I think this is extremely prevalent when it comes to shipping creators. Again, using Dream SMP as an example, content creators like Tommy Innit and Rabu, which are two minors that the Dream SMP stan community ship together, which, if I have to point out, is fucking disgusting. Fucking hell. It's a great example how stans dehumanize these content creators, and it also reminds me a lot of past controversies, such as Dan and Phil, which got so bad that Dan became very uncomfortable around Phil. When a large group of individuals constantly romanticize you as a character, I'd imagine it's not the best feeling in the world. However, I'm not only criticizing stans for the most part, because most of the time these quote stans are children, and they'll grow out of their obsession with these content creators when they're older. And speaking of content creators, let's talk about fan bases. Using YouTube as an example, as a commentary channel for some time now, one of the main things I've done for my somewhat minuscule time on the platform is criticize other people. I've targeted a lot of creators and critiqued their behavior and actions, but you see, when most of your content is discussing or criticizing certain subjects or people that could be seen as controversial, you tend to not only receive a lot of attraction from said video, but also hate from the fanbase that might see the video in a negative light. A good example of this would be my 2 videos on Zook Duke.
Hey yo, wait a minute, didn't you make fucking 4, you fucking idiot?
Okay, but in fairness, one was a re-upload of a video she falsely taken down, and the other was a shitpost calling her pussy gross. But no, the point is she isn't a perfect individual. I made a video discussing the past allegations, which she ran away from by taking down a video fellow content creator by the name of Unfunniest made on her, and making some comedic remarks, which, looking back at my younger self, probably should have treated the situation more seriously, and her fan base went fucking crazy. But luckily, I went into that video already expecting the backlash, but goddamn, I never expected the amount of anger over someone speaking about their queen in a negative light. But moving on from that, let's criticize the content creators that peddle these parasocial relationships, shall we? You see, I cannot stand by any content creators who preaches the value of taking care of one's own mental health and preaches about the value of not trivializing the matter, and then goes on to trivialize the matter by partaking in these harmful and downright toxic parasocial relationships. But then also go and use the excuse of, oh shit, my mental health, or something along those lines. Or just insert a generic YouTube apology where they sigh at the beginning of a video. So whenever they're caught up in drama, and here's the truth, it's very easy to knowingly and maliciously use one's own mental health against people/critics, to weaponize it when faced with drama. And when weaponizing one's own mental health, it then trivializes it for others and gives an excuse to the stans to attack and harass the person you're using it against. A perfect example of this would be Cosmodor, who was exposed for grooming multiple minors, and his excuse was using his mental health to gain the sympathy of his fans. I mean, fuck, do I really have to tell you guys why this is fucked up? Frankly, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, those actions are still your own. Whether you are depressed or not, you're still the same person. Just because you're depressed, it doesn't excuse your actions, and just because you're depressed, it doesn't mean you're predisposed to bad things. And what Cosmodor and many other creators have done is put a stereotype and trivialize the matter of mental illness further, which will lead to people who actually have these issues not be taken seriously. Nowadays, all you hear about is people bringing it up as a get out of jail free card, to either save their own ass or whether they're in a bad place, because people don't want to think about it. People don't want to talk about the struggles that come with life. This no bummer, forced positivity attitude will only bring even more harm and toxicity, and I truly do fear that these words of advice would not change people's minds. And unfortunately, it seems like more and more content creators don't actually want to talk about mental health. They just want to continue to trivialize the matter, whether knowing it or not. And I am sick of people using and saying phrases like, oh, I was in a bad place, I was suicidal during that time, and never in the slightest taking accountability for their actions. Whether it be taking advantage of minors, crying because you have a small dick, or using one's own mental health to look like the victim, or whatever fucked up reason for the fucked up thing you did, and blaming it on mental health. And at the end of the day, I think that's fucked up. I wish more people would stand against it rather than being a stan. And it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a celebrity or a random person online, using your mental health as an excuse for your actions is never going to be a way of taking accountability. It's just another form of escapism. Oh, and one more thing. Fuck stan culture.